right to subsistence and right to development as the most fundamental human rights. This has not just changed the course of human rights development in China, but is also a miracle of human rights protection in the world. Disposable per capita income for rural villagers increased from 6,000 yuan in 2013 to more than 10,000 yuan in 2020. The annual compound growth exceeded 6.5%, and this growth rate has exceeded that of the growth rate of China's GDP. Rural villagers, they are well fed, they are also well accommodated with sound living conditions. 99.9% of rural villagers are covered by the basic medical insurance. So all the villagers in China, they are given staunch support in terms of medical treatment. All the rural villagers, they are now living in safe houses, and they have access to clean water. A total of 28.28 million rural villagers are now having access to clean and safe water. Women villagers living in rural areas, they have also dramatically improved their living conditions. We also stepped up care for children from poor background. From 2014 to 2020, great efforts have been made to improving the education of children. Care was also provided to senior citizens. The poverty issue for rural senior citizens have been significantly resolved. 7 million persons of disabilities in China's rural areas have been lifted out of poverty, and this is yet another miracle. Rural revitalization has been significantly advanced, and this will contribute to China's poverty eradication efforts. After China was lifted out of poverty, we have moved on to another important agenda, which is rural revitalization. The overarching goal of rural revitalization is to modernize China's agriculture industry. We have the general objective of improving people's living conditions and also improving the infrastructure and facilities in Chinese countryside. Going forward, we will continue to enhance the protection of human rights, share more benefits to the people. We will improve basic living standards and establish a monitoring system to guard against people returning back to poverty. We will ensure that people have access to clean and safe water in the fields of housing, medicine, and health. Supervision will be put in place to ensure that all the works are put on the ground. And second, we will continue to extend support to rural areas. In a smooth manner, we are going to advance the construction of China's countryside. We will improve the infrastructures and facilities, and also we cultivate special industries and sectors in poverty-stricken areas. We will also mobilize the general public to engage in industrial transformation. In the meantime, we are going to coordinate with finance and also other government departments to support the innovative efforts of rural villagers. We will also mobilize the private sector to support China's middle and western regions. Third, we will put in place employment incentives so as to constantly optimize the employment situation across the country. We will expand the skill of employment, focusing on their needs of jobs, we will introduce tailor-made policies. Coastal provinces will be working in pairs with provinces in central and western China by implementing a series of mechanisms. We will make it easier for people from any region in China to find a job. In the meantime, we are going to standardize our efforts so that people can find a job nearby. Fourth, we're going to improve public services and also protect people's rights to have access to public services. Gradually, we're going to improve the health standards and overall level of social equity in rural areas. We will improve the admission rate at middle school, high school, and college level. We will also provide housing, employment, and medical support to all the rural residents. In the meantime, efforts will be made to protect the agriculture culture in China. So this is all from my presentation. Thank you very much, Division Chief Chen Hongbo. May I now give the floor to Deputy Council Director Xiang Zicheng from China Association for Protection of Persons with Disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure to introduce to you the special group of the society, which is POWs, persons with disabilities. And 30 years ago, the first white paper on protection of human rights in China was introduced. One of the chapters was specifically about the protection of POWs. PWDs, and this year marks the centenary of the CPC. And we have always attached importance to the protection of human rights of PWDs in the fields of health, medicine, culture, and sports. Efforts are made to protect the rights of PWDs, and since the 18th CPC Congress, even greater efforts have been made in the fields of protecting the rights of persons with disabilities. We have improved the mechanisms and systems. The overall service has been optimized. PWDs are now enjoying better public services. The achievement in this regard is a manifestation of the great achievements of human rights protection in China. Number one, the right to subsistence of PWDs has been guaranteed through targeted poverty alleviation. A total of 7.1 million registered impoverished PWDs have been lifted out of poverty. A total of 10.2 million PWDs in poverty are now entitled to life subsidies. The basic pension care and social insurance coverage has now covered more than 95% of all the PWDs. In the fight against COVID-19, the rights of PWDs has also been well protected, and PWDs are now finding it easier to find a job. More and more persons with disabilities, they can find a job easier, and they can also engage in flexible job seeking. The overall health conditions of PWDs have been dramatically improved. A total of 940 children with disabilities, they have also improved their conditions. The overall education service for PWDs has been improved, and more than 95% of the children with disabilities are now attending schools. We are also improving the teaching of sign languages. We're also building accessible facilities and infrastructures in urban and rural areas. PWDs are now leading a convenient life, no matter when they stay inside the city or travel to other places of the country. More than 970,000 people have accepted legal trainings. At the annual 2 session, at the central level, we have collected a total of 417 proposals on the protection of rights of PWDs. 66.37 million relatives of PWDs are serving on posts at the central and municipal and provincial level. At the just concluded Tokyo Paralympics, Chinese Paralympic team has secured 96 gold medals and 61 silver medals. Behind these achievements are the staunch support of the central government of China to the protection of rights of PWDs. And this has demonstrated the advantages of CPC leadership and socialism in China. We also improved the system and mechanisms for protection of rights for PWDs. The fundamental reason behind this success lies in the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee with General Secretary Xi Jinping at its core. We have also improved the legal system protecting the rights of PWDs. We have introduced 90 laws at the State Council level and also more than 50 laws at the National People's Congress level. We also improved rehabilitation services at different levels. A total of 8,000 clinical centers and rehabilitation facilities have been established across the country, and this has made an important contribution to targeted poverty alleviation. And fourth, we have built a more inclusive and friendly environment for the PWDs. And President Xi Jinping has personally matched with those model workers who have helped PWDs. We built a social atmosphere that understands PWDs and supports those groups of people. And China has signed the CRPD, which is Convention on Protection of People with Disabilities, and also we have issued the white paper on protection of PWDs' rights. China was invited to participate in a number of international mechanisms and conventions, for example, the Human Rights Council and also other international treaties. We must also be mindful that China is at a beginning stage of socialism, and there are gaps that we have to address. PWDs, they still face some pragmatic issues in accessibility, and there are also phenomena and violations that violates the rights of PWDs. The CPC Central Committee and State Council attach great importance to the protection of rights of PWDs during the 14th Five-Year Plan. According to General Secretary Xi Jinping, we have to protect the rights of PWDs if we want to build a beautiful society. The 5th plenary session of the 19th CPC Congress and also the 14th Five-Year Plan and a number of other documents and top-level designs have made specific deployments on the work of protection of PWDs. Between 2021 and 2025, it was particularly reiterated that a number of measures will be carried out to further protect the rights of PWDs, and we will follow through the important decisions made by the CPC Central Committee and State Council to build a care system in a society for PWDs so as to ensure their access to public life and politics, so as to ensure and contribute to wealth for all. Taking this opportunity, I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to the support from all walks of life. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Xiang Zicheng may now give the floor to Keyu Zhongqi and Party Secretary of Xing'an League of Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region. Mr. Dai. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. As a frontline worker in poverty alleviation, it's my great honor to report to you our practice in human rights protection. The happy life of people is the utmost human rights of the people. Since the 18th National Congress of the CPC, poverty eradication has been a key part of human rights protection. We have accelerated poverty eradication, and also we won a full victory against poverty. And this has made important contribution to the global cause of poverty eradication, and this in itself is an example of human rights protection. I'm from a banner or county in Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, and the county has the most diverse ethnic groups in China, and we are also one of the poverty-stricken areas in Inner Mongolia. We are at the front line of poverty eradication, and since the war was waged against poverty under the leadership of CPC Central Committee with Xi Jinping at its core, through a number of targeted poverty eradication measures, we worked together with all the relevant stakeholders. We engaged in surveys and investigations. A number of targeted solutions were introduced, and we embraced cultural tourism, and this has become an important channel for us to get rid of poverty. We also adhere to the principle of putting ecological preservation in the first place, and this has become the guiding principle in our region. The poverty incurrence rate reduced from 33% to 0%. So we have felt most strongly in this campaign against poverty. And let me share with you the specific measures that we have taken. Number one, ecological preservation. And the Keyuzhong banner locates in the north of the Kherchen Desert. So we have to focus on ecological preservation. As President Xi Jinping has said, that lucid water and Lost Mountain are invaluable assets. So we have engaged fully in ecological preservation, and we engaged in natural restoration of our environment. We fought against desertification and also overherding. Through a number of policies, the area of sand reduced from 6 million mu to 700,000 mu. Forest coverage has increased 0.5%, and grassland coverage has increased by 40%. In 2018, we were selected as one demonstration site for ecological preservation, and we have added 1.25 million mu of forest land and grassland. In this process, we have received the support from the Central Publicity Department and also from other departments at the central level. Forestation projects were successfully carried out thanks to the support from the stakeholders and departments from the central level. And we also combine ecological preservation with economic development. In our banner, we have more than 1 million mu of economic forests. We have actively brought in leading enterprises to tackle desertification and other ecological problems. We introduced suitable and economic forests and crops on the desert land, which has effectively improved the ecological situation in Inner Mongolia. And we are currently helping 139 villages in restoring and recovering their ecological environment. And third, we focused on a number of key crops. For example, we focused on wheat and corn and built a full industrial chain. focusing on the livestock industry. We work together with a number of leading enterprises and government agencies. We accelerated the pace of refining the species of livestock. The number of livestock and cattle have dramatically increased. The first national level seeding base in Xing'an League was established in our county. We also engaged in a number of demonstrative projects at the national level for seeding. We also focused on processing. Under the support of Central Publicity Department, we worked together with the company from Shandong and built a processing plant. Each and every year, this plant has a slaughtering capacity of 60,000 cattle. We work together with Hong'an Corporation, which is a leading company in Shandong. A total of 1.7 million meat cattle have been delivered to the market. We also focused on the straw processing industry, and this is the feedlot industry for the livestock sector. Fifth, we are building a cluster industry demonstration center for beef processing in Xing'an League. And sixth, in the field of financing, we built a system that's allowed better collaboration with the Agricultural Bank of China. We introduced preferential credit policies, and we have issued a total of 1.4 billion yuan of loans. And this has solved the financing needs of a lot of the shepherds in Inner Mongolia. Those households who have been lifted out of poverty have a inventory level of more than 100 cattle. Seventh, we took a serious look at our advantages and decided to embrace cultural tourism. This has increased the income of residents. We built a number of tourist routes. We also tapped the cultural potential of the Mongolian culture. With the support from Central Publicity Department, we're working together with China Cinema Group and Vanguard and a number of enterprises, and we focused on the culture of horse riding, and we are also building a number of film-making bases in our county. We focused on 5 historic sites, and this has dramatically enhanced the attraction of those places and improved people's incomes. We also tapped the potential of non-tangible cultural heritages. We built the country's largest Mongolian embroidery base, and this has attracted more than 20,000 people to the plant. Already, it has mobilized more than 100 villages in our banner to lift out of poverty. And in our analysis, we have written a glorious chapter in poverty eradication. We will always remember the important teaching of General Secretary Xi Jinping to put people in the first place, to consolidate our efforts, and also to well align our efforts with rural revitalization so that we can feed back to the great expectations of the party and the people. Thank you very much. May I now give the floor to Vice Chairman of China Human Rights Research Association, Mr. Li. Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. So now let me make a report on the protection of human rights in China. The Human Rights Protection White Paper is a cornerstone for our efforts. The first white paper was released 30 years ago. Over the past 3 decades, we have witnessed historic development of human rights development in China. The past 3 decades has also witnessed historic progress of China's human rights protection. Human rights is an ideal for all the people in the world, and we have enshrined that in our constitution. We have made important breakthroughs in theories. This is due to the breakthroughs in theoretical study on human rights protection. The Communist Party of China, after it was established, has made indelible efforts and continuous efforts in improving people's human rights. For some period of time, when China was very much on the left, there was some sufferings brought to human rights, but China quickly rectified this mistake, and we have gradually made important breakthroughs. The first breakthrough was in 1985, when Deng Xiaoping pointed out that when talking about human rights, and there is the human rights issue for minorities and also for majorities, and we believe the human rights in China that we have to focus on is on the human rights of majorities. And the second breakthrough was 30 years ago, under the leadership of General Secretary Jiang Zemin, and we issued a white paper. And also at the 15th National Congress of the CPC, for the first time, human rights protection was enshrined in the reports and also constitution of the CPC. It has become a guiding principle. Another breakthrough is in October 1997 and 1997, and we have signed the UN Council on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights, and also the CRPD of the United Nations. Another breakthrough is that in the 17th National Congress of the CPC, human rights protection was officially written in the Constitution of China as well as the CPC. Those are important milestones for the protection of human rights in China, and it has built strong political foundation for our research. We made it very clear that the right to subsistence is the most fundamental human rights. The Communist Party of China is equipped with a Marxist theories of dialectics. It is good at combining Marxist theories with the reality of China. In October 1991, the first white paper on human rights protection was released, and this is the starting point for human rights protection in modern China. According to the white paper, right to subsistence is the most fundamental human rights, and this is one very important standpoint. And since 1991, China has made strenuous effort in human rights protection, and since the 18th CPC National Congress, China has entered a new era. We have continued making important breakthroughs in human rights protection, and gradually we have formed a system for human rights protection in China. And the highlights of that is we put people in a central place in all the work that we do, and in the fight against COVID-19, we have made it very clear that we have to put people's health and safety in the first place, and this is a great manifestation of our commitment to human rights protection. Another highlight of our efforts is that we focused simultaneously on the right to subsistence and the right to development. In practicing those principles, and we have made important breakthroughs in 2020 and 2021. China has made two important breakthroughs in human rights protection. Number one, we have successfully contained the COVID-19 pandemic, and this has safeguarded the human rights of 1.4 billion people. Another important achievement is that we have claimed a full victory against poverty, and this is yet another manifestation of China's efforts in protecting the human rights of 1.4 billion people. Over the past 30 years, we have advocated that the right to subsistence and development is the most fundamental human rights that we value. And in a number of international occasions, we have spread our voice to the international audience. And also, we believe that the political rights, economic rights are closely linked to the rights to subsistence and development. In the Human Rights Forum in 2015, President Xi Jinping said that we have to orderly advance the coordinated developments of human rights and economic development. In 2015, in our report submitted to the UN Human Rights Council, we made it very clear that we have to focus on the right to subsistence and also development. In the meantime, we need to advance the economic, cultural, and development rights of our citizens. And this is what we promised, and this is also what we have practiced over the years. And this, I believe, is a great contribution to human rights protection across the world. Another important breakthrough is that we have committed to protecting the human rights of key population groups, and this includes women, minors, people with disabilities, and also senior citizens, and those are the vulnerable groups. We believe if we call it vulnerable groups, it can lead to stigmatization, and so that is why we are calling it certain population groups, and this has been included in the new version of the white papers. Another important breakthrough is that we propose that there is no best in human rights protection and there is only better human rights protection. So these are the theories that have evolved over the years along China's practice of human rights protection. On the basis of those theoretic breakthroughs, we have gradually formed the Chinese way of explaining human rights. The Chinese theory of human rights protection is a development of the Marxism theory in China by combining the reality in China. In terms of pathways, at the very beginning we said that we need to combine the universal value of human rights to the realities of China, and right now we are talking about traveling a pathway of Chinese characteristics in human rights protection. We are combining human rights protection to the traditional culture of China. What we can take pride in is that after 100 years of struggle of the CPC, and in particular after 40 years of reform and opening up, under the leadership of the CPC Central Committee, we have innovatively engaged in theoretical research of human rights research, and we have traveled a journey of human rights protection with Chinese characteristics. I need to point out that this pathway was significantly pioneered by General Secretary Xi Jinping. We have refined and extracted those key highlights of human rights protection in China. In a lot of the remarks made by Xi Jinping, the connotations of this pathway has been well explained. And this year at the 70th anniversary marking the and Protection of Human Rights Council, Xi Jinping said that China well combined the universal value of human rights with Chinese realities. We adhere to the human rights principle of putting people in the first place. In so doing, we have also coordinated the economic, social, political, environmental, and cultural rights of citizens. In so doing, we have advanced social equality. Over the years, we have transitioned from being criticized to now we can contribute to the protection of human rights. At the very beginning, China was the subject of critics from around the world, and there were smears and slanders and criticisms from around the world against us. As President Xi Jinping said that when China was lagging behind, it's inevitable that we are criticized. But right now, we are playing a central role in human rights protection in the world. Over the past 30, 40 years, we have theoretic supports, and we also have practical supports based on Chinese practice of human rights protection. We are building also our rhetoric system for human rights protection. We are empowering human rights protection with development, and we believe that there is no one that can claim that they are the best in human rights protection, and on the journey of human rights protection, there can only be better. There cannot be best. So this has won the support from audience around the world. As a practitioner of the theories of the CPC, we will continue follow through the requirements of General Secretary Xi Jinping. We will deepen our research on theories of human rights protection. On the basis of summarizing experiences, we will continue spread China's solutions and practice to a larger audience in the world. Going forward, we will continue consolidate our own theories, and we will gain the upper hand in the international information war in human rights, and this, I believe, will be a new contribution going forward. On October 11th, 1991, the State Council Information Office released the white paper of China on human rights protection. This was the first white paper issued by China since the new China was established. And this is also the first official paper released by the Chinese government on human rights. The white paper explained China's basic standpoints in human rights protection. So this was in itself a major breakthrough in human rights protection in China. It was a milestone event in China. It has laid a solid foundation for China to better protect human rights in China. Since 1991, the State Council Information Office has taken into account the realities of human rights protection in China. It has released a total of 14 white papers on human rights protection. Those white papers, they are an important documentation of China's practice in human rights protection. It has comprehensively demonstrated the image of China. It has also effectively debunked the criticism and slanders from the United States and other Western countries. Over the past 3 decades, we have significantly improved the situation of human rights in China. And we would like to take this opportunity to thank all those.
今天我们召开座谈会，纪念这一具有重大历史意义和现实意义的事件，就是要总结中国人权事业发展的伟大成就和宝贵经验，进一步推动尊重和保障人权，促进中国人权事业全面发展。
environment of respecting and protecting human rights
几位部级
and advancing the human rights in China. And just now, a couple of ministerial representatives and also frontline workers have summarized their experience and what they have witnessed along the journey of human rights protection.
这些都给人重要的启发，就是当红同志呢，我们要把他们的发言呢，还要纳入到宣传报道，看怎么方式来传播好。讲得非常意义非常重大，讲得非常好。同志们，历史总能给人深刻的启示。回顾白皮书发表以来的30年，在追溯至中国共产党成立100年来，中国人权事业发展的历程。特别是党的18大以来，以习近平同志为核心的党中央领导下，谱写的中国
since the 18th CPC Congress, under the leadership of CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, we have written a glorious chapter of human rights protection. And this is a grand picture of the party leading the people in protecting human rights, and the party leading the people in exploring a path of development. General Secretary Xi Jinping, at his important remarks at the 100th anniversary of the CPC, he said that since founded, the CPC has made its objectives to seek happiness for the Chinese people. Over the past 100 years, the Chinese Communist Party has held firm to its original aspirations. It has helped China to embark on a journey of national rejuvenation. We have won the successful campaign of building a moderately well-off society. China has transitioned from standing up to become strong, and also to become rich and to become strong. Over the past 100 years, China has traveled an extraordinary journey of human rights protection with Chinese characteristics, and we have engaged in diversified development of human rights protection, walking our own path. And this is the essence and fundamental nature of the leadership of the CPC. And this is also a historic conclusion that we have drawn after many years of struggles. And we are committed to the socialist path of Chinese characteristics. On this path, we have protected and respected human rights. So this path is also an important channel for the party to better protect human rights and also to advance the comprehensive development of human rights. And this is an important path that has pushed China on a trajectory of becoming rich, prosperous, and strong. This is also a journey that will eventually help China to achieve national rejuvenation. On this path, we have always put people in the first place. We respect the positions of the people, and these are the guiding principles of protecting human rights. We rely on the people, and also we protect the rights of people, and we insist that people's happy life is the most dominant deciding power of the country, so that people can be entitled to social, economic, cultural, political, and environmental rights, so that people can truly feel the benefits of social development.